All right, y'all. If you haven't seen my Bigfoot story yet, Bigfoot in the Big Thicket, you really ought to check that one out first. I'll drop the link below so you can catch up because it sets the stage for what we're getting into today. And trust me, this one's a wild ride. Now, if you're already caught up and back here with me, perfect, because what I'm about to share might just make Bigfoot seem like the less terrifying creature out there. I used to think nothing in these woods could rattle me more than a 9-foot tall figure watching from the trees. But then I started hearing stories about something darker, something faster, more aggressive, and way harder to explain. Folks around here don't always agree on what to call it. Some say Dogman, others just call it the Howler, or the Thing in the Woods. Whatever name they use, one thing's clear: it walks on 2 legs, and it shouldn't. Most of these stories seem to lead back to one place, FM 420. Now, if you're not from around here, FM 420 probably just sounds like another back road, but it runs right through the Big Thicket, just north of Kountze. And for those of us who know it well, or who've had the misfortune of driving it late at night, we know there's something out there. And once you hear it, or worse, see it, you don't forget. FM 420 looks pretty harmless in the daytime. Just your typical East Texas highway, 2 narrow lanes cutting through miles of pine trees, tangled underbrush, and thick, shadowy hollows on both sides. If you don't know any better, you might even think it's peaceful. But there's something about those woods once the sun goes down. The trees get darker, somehow taller, like they're leaning in closer. The road feels tighter, like the forest is swallowing it whole, 1 mile at a time. It gets quiet too. Not the kind of quiet that feels relaxing, but the kind that makes the hairs on your arms stand up. No frogs, no crickets, just the hum of your tires on the pavement and the occasional flicker of your headlights bouncing off the trees. Locals say that stretch of 420 has always had a weird energy. There's this old hunting lease off one of the dirt roads back there, been abandoned for years now. No one stays overnight anymore, and some say they won't even step foot past the gate after dark. There have been rumors for decades. People hearing growls in the brush, spotting strange eyeshine just off the trail, game cameras showing blurred shapes that don't look like any animal we have around here. But one story stuck with me. It comes from a man I'll call Rick. Rick grew up in Kountze, knew these woods like the back of his hand. Said he used to ride his 4-wheeler down FM 420 all the time, taking little trails off into the thicket to go hunt or fish or just clear his head. One night, he was out later than usual. Said the moon was out, but the clouds were moving fast, so it kept dipping in and out of shadow. He was about 3 miles in, engine off, just sitting on the ATV listening. That's when he heard it. A low, throaty growl. Close. Too close. Said it didn't sound like a hawk or a cougar, and it sure as heck wasn't a coyote. He reached for his flashlight, and before he could even click it on, he caught a glimpse of something moving between the trees. Tall, upright, covered in matted hair, and it moved like it knew he was there, like it was circling him. He said, "I've seen bears, I've seen wild dogs. I don't know what that was, but it wasn't either of those." Needless to say, Rick didn't ride out that way anymore. Now this story, this one really got under my skin. It came from a guy named Derek. He messaged me right after seeing my Bigfoot video. Said he wasn't even sure if he wanted to talk about it, but he figured maybe someone else out there had seen it too. It happened just a couple of years ago. He was driving home from a late shift at the paper mill. Took FM 420 like he always did. It was close to midnight, and the road was dead quiet. No other cars, no lights, just his headlights cutting through the dark. Now, this part is important. He wasn't tired, he wasn't drinking, and he wasn't the type to believe in this kind of stuff. But as he was coming down one of the slow curves out past one of the old logging roads, his headlights catch something crossing the road. At first, he thought it was a deer, just that flash of movement, but then it stood upright. I'll repeat that. It stood up. He said it rose up on two legs, tall as the top of a stop sign, with these long arms and narrow waist. The whole body was covered in dark, ragged fur. He couldn't see the eyes, but the head was unmistakable. Canine. Not like a coyote exactly. Longer snout, broader shoulders, and the hunched-over posture like it was ready to lunge. He slammed on the brakes, heart pounding, and the thing turned and looked right at him. He said, and I quote, "It didn't run like a man or a dog. It moved like it was made of springs, took off across the road, and vanished into the trees." And then everything went silent. No crickets, no frogs, not even the wind. He sat there in the truck for a solid 5 minutes trying to make sense of it. Eventually, drove home with the dome light on and a pistol in the passenger seat. He told me he still takes FM 20 sometimes. I mean, he really doesn't have much of a choice. But he never drives it the same way. These days, he keeps his eyes locked on the tree line and his hand resting real close to the glove box. All right, so up to this point, we've talked about one-on-one encounters. Somebody alone on a trail or driving a dark stretch of road. But what happens when there's more than one witness? This next story came from a group of hunters. 3 guys, all longtime friends, all locals. I'll call them Jake, Travis, and Mike. Every year they set up camp for a long weekend out near one of those old gas line clearings that cuts through the thicket. You know the kind. Flat stretch of land with trees pushed way back on both sides, like a long, unnatural hallway carved right through the forest. It was late November, cold but clear. They'd been out all afternoon and were back at camp by dusk, sitting around the fire, cooking, laughing, and having a drink or two. That's when the woods went quiet. All 3 of them noticed it. No night bugs, no owls, just this heavy silence. Jake said it felt like the trees were holding their breath. Then came the footsteps, slow, heavy, deliberate, crunching through the brush just beyond where the firelight faded. They figured it was a wild hog or maybe a big buck, until the footsteps stopped and didn't start again. Jake stood up and shined his flashlight toward the tree line. That's when they saw it. Eyeshine. Not low to the ground like an animal, eye level, reflecting back red, and it blinked. Mike said it was like the eyes weren't just reflecting light, they were watching. And then the thing let out this low, drawn-out growl. Not like a dog, not even like a coyote. It was deeper, raw, like it rattled your bones a little just hearing it. Whatever it was started circling the camp. They couldn't see it moving, just heard the crunch of leaves and occasional snap of a branch, shifting from one side of the camp to the other, always staying just out of sight. Travis swears he saw a silhouette at one point, said it was tall, maybe 7 feet, and hunched like it was too big to stand upright for long. He only caught it for a second in the edge of the firelight, but that was enough. They packed up at first light and got out of there. Haven't been back since, and you better believe they didn't sleep at all that night. So let's talk about the big question here. What is the Dogman? I mean, are we talking about some undiscovered species? A leftover legend from another time? Or something even weirder than that? I've spent some time digging through the forums, old reports, and the occasional deep dive podcast, and let me tell you, there are a lot of theories out there. Some folks believe Dogman is just another type of cryptid, like Bigfoot, only more canine than primate, an evolutionary offshoot we haven't caught up with yet. Others think it's something supernatural, like a skinwalker, or some kind of shapeshifter that's tied to ancient folklore. And that theory pops up a lot in areas near native land, or where old legends haven't quite died off. And then there's the government experiment theory. Yeah, I know, but some people swear this thing is the result of a military testing gone sideways, something that escaped a lab and found its way into the deep woods. Now, if you're thinking, couldn't it just be a coyote or a wild dog? That's fair. We definitely have plenty of coyotes in southeast Texas. You'll hear them yipping at night if you live anywhere near the woods. But we don't have wolves here, and we haven't for a long time. And every single person I've talked to about these sightings swears this thing is too big, too upright, and way too intelligent to be a coyote. Plus, coyotes don't circle your campsite or lock eyes with you from across the road like they're sizing you up. That's the part that gets me. Every report has the same chilling detail. It watches you, not like an animal, like it's thinking, like it's waiting. And I don't know about you, but that gives me a whole different kind of goosebumps. So, maybe it's all just stories. Maybe what people are seeing out there on FM 420 is just misidentified wildlife, shadows playing tricks, fear filling in the blanks. But then again, maybe not. Because the reports keep coming. Different people, different times, same description, same road, same look in their eyes when they talk about it, like they've seen something they can't explain and aren't sure they want to. There's something out there in those woods, and whether it's flesh and blood or something older, something darker, it doesn't seem interested in being found. It seems content to watch. So the next time you find yourself driving FM 420 after dark, maybe glance a little closer at the tree line. That flicker of movement out of the corner of your eye, that shape just beyond the headlights, you might tell yourself it was nothing, and maybe it was. But then again, maybe it wasn't.
Well, that's it for this one, y'all. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time right here in the thicket. And if you hear rustling behind you, it's probably fine.